FICMRepair.com. We're all in this together. Hey guys, Ed here with FICMRepair to talk about monitoring and tuners and what to do with a plethora of options that exist in the marketplace. So if you've got a Powerstroke or really any other vehicle, I can tell you that the factory gauges are, well, pathetic. And so what they offer is misleading at best and insufficient even for what is just out there just anyway. For example, have you ever noticed that your on your Powerstroke, all the way to the left, your oil pressure gauge, I mean, it's always dead set in the middle of perfect. It just doesn't matter. It's either, perfect or it's, well, off. You either have no oil pressure or you have just dead set in the middle of oil pressure. So at idle, it's in the middle. At cold idle, it's in the middle. At hot idle, it's in the middle. At red line, it's in the middle. It's always in the middle. Huh. What's going on? Have you ever noticed that your trans temp gauge, once it gets to the middle, it's always in the middle too. Until all of a sudden, boing, right? Then it's like not in the middle. So it doesn't matter if you're driving along at 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're towing 15,000 pounds or if you're towing nothing. That trans temp, right in the middle of perfect. That is either the best heat exchanger known to freaking man, right? Or it's lying. Which is it? Besides, have you noticed that, like, for example, you've had alternator failures and the battery light never did come on, and yet you got nothing? What is happening here? This is the commercial for running gauges. Now, what gauge? Well, I guess a lot of it depends. What do you want to do? This video is going to take a hot minute, so bear with me. But you can do a lot of things. Well, one of them is to do nothing, right? And that's what the OEM, well, hey, just trust us, we're good, right? The problem with that is that by the time that you have, back in my day, they used to call them idiot lights, the little red lights in your dash, because idiot, by the time it turns on, it's been too late, right? Now, there are a lot of safeguards in this motor that we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about here, but like, for example, one of the reasons why the Powerstroke lasts so long is it's a hydraulically actuated injection system, so without 500 psi of high pressure oil, you're not going to have ignition, which means if you have no low pressure oil, you're actually not going to have high pressure oil. Without high pressure oil, you're not going to have ignition. As a result, if that gauge for low pressure oil says you got nothing and your truck's still running and it says check gauges on the bottom, probably all that's happened is that little sensor failed. But that sensor is a 7 psi switch, as it turns out. And so it's like, now this is different than your in your trans temp. The trans temp actually does report back to the engine control module precise temperatures. It'll say, hey, you're at 163 or 164, but the ECM controls what it shows on your instrument cluster. So you might decide, hey, I've had enough of this, I want to do something about it. So we're going to go probably from least to most expensive here and talk about what your money can buy you and et cetera, and then you can kind of figure it out from there. So down the least expensive front, we'll just reach over here, keep it off camera, just to keep you guessing. We have the various Bluetooth adapters, that have smartphone will travel. There's a few apps. Torque Pro is a common one, but there's other ones. And you can go ahead and plug into this, and basically anything that the ECM has knowledge of, this, the Torque app will let you know about. So if you want to monitor your actual oil temp, your actual coolant temp, your actual trans temp, right? It'll tell you all of that. Now, it won't tell you things that the factory sensors don't have any knowledge of. It won't tell you exactly what your low pressure oil numbers are doing. Hey, are you at 8 psi or are you at 80 psi? It's not going to tell you that. Why? Because it's just a switch. it's not going to tell you what your exhaust gas temperatures are. Why? Because there is no sending unit for that. Same thing for fuel pressure, right? And it's not going to give you any possibility to protect your turbo, to prevent the engine from shutting down when things are too toasty yet. But it will give you an indication of what's going on. So you'll be able to see what your high pressure oil numbers are doing, what your injection control pressure voltage is, what your PSI is. It'll be able to tell you, your injection pressure, regular duty cycle, battery voltage, all kinds of nifty stuff. Coolant temp. I mean, there's a lot of functionality you get here for like, 30, 40 bucks, whatever these things go for. And they're on our website, but it's just not that bad of money. So links below. And by the way, little sidebar. You're watching this video. Have you subscribed to our channel? Come on, show a guy solid here. We're working over here. We took a shower and everything. Subscribe to our channel. There's a lot to know. So at any rate, so this is one of the options, okay? The next on the list, and it's more money, it's about 170 bucks. There is a thing called a Scangauge. That's this guy right here, a Scangauge 2. And so this is, if you don't have a phone, you just want something that's always on the truck, always in and just plugged in. You just plug it into OB2 and off to the races you go. The Scangauge 2 does this for you. From us, this is pre-programmed for your 6-liter, so it's already set up with what are called PIDs, program IDs, for engine oil temperature, coolant temp, trans temp, all the stuff we rattled off before. It's all programmed in for here. And there's even on our webpage, if you type in Scangauge, one of the frequently asked questions is, hey, how do you program this silly thing anyway? So if you got it from somebody else, we'll still talk to you. But if you want to know, hey, mine that I got elsewhere, it didn't come pre-programmed for my truck, how do I do that? There's a FAQ on our site that talks about it. This is about 170 bucks of built-in happiness. But this only monitors 4 things at the same time, so it's kind of limiting in that regard. And just like the Bluetooth option, it has no mechanism of supporting the addition of any kind of anything else from a gauges perspective. So you can't monitor fuel pressure, you can't do a reverse camera, you can't do exhaust gas temperatures, etc. If there's an ECM program ID for it, if there's a PID, you're in good shape. So this will read codes, it'll clear codes. It's not a very good code reader actually. Something that says there's no codes and there really are. That's something that the Bluetooth device is actually a little better at. But this is always in the truck and it's nice. It'll get you going and the money's not bad. So there's that. Now, say for example that you want some ability to monitor, of course, but you want to tune. You want to tune your ECM. Okay, perfect. Welcome to SCT. So SCT, the most popular one, is this little guy called an SCT X4, little handheld programmer. Pretty, it's fine, right? So it'll go ahead and it'll do some basic monitoring. It's not really the best for monitoring. They've got another product called the Livewire, which is better. But for monitoring, I'm remiss to suggest to you that this is a good idea. The reason why, so if you want the ability to switch between tunes. By the way, if you don't want the ability to switch between tunes, you're like, man, I use my truck the same way all the time. Recognize you can always elect to save some cash. You can ship us your ECM, and we can go ahead and custom tune your ECM and ship a tuned ECM back to you. Just recognize that whatever tune we give you, you're married to, right? You're just stuck. But the price isn't bad. It's like half the price of this thing. So I want to say it's like $175, $200, something like that, and for us to custom tune an ECM. This, however, this is more. This is the low 400s. This is like 419, 429, something like that. Links below. Inflation, right? I hate to commit to a certain dollar amount depending on when you're watching this video, but this device will load custom tunes. So it's got tunes that came with it, and then you can also have us go ahead and create for you custom tunes for your specific truck. And even if your truck is stock, the custom tunes for a stock truck are indeed, superior to what comes, directly out of the box here. So the ones that come out of the box here, they're called canned tunes. and then obviously custom tunes. So this supports custom tunes, and by the way, you can do tuning. We'll do a whole different video on this as far as, hey, I'm studded, that, you know, now what, or hey, I'm not studded, now what, you know, can I run tunes? The answer is yes. But the issue with this is you can only have, SCT only offers one add-on. Such a bummer. The add-on that they offer is a EGT kit in a little box like this. So this allows you to, either with the LiveWire product or with the X4 product, this allows you to monitor your exhaust gas temperatures. Okay, fine. And EGTs are a big deal in diesels, right? You don't want to be hanging out, you know, for extended periods over 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And you sure in places don't want to hit 1500. I was talking to a guy today. He's like, well, I've seen 2000. Oh, sweet Jesus. You know, can I sell you a lawn block? Because that's what's going to happen, right? He's going to burn something bad. And so I don't want that for you. So if you're running extra power, especially and whatnot, you want to know where you're at. You want to save on fuel economy by keeping the RPMs down as you're pulling that hill, but you know that exhaust gas temperatures are higher, so you want to save the fuel economy, but not at the cost of an engine. You want an exhaust gas temperature probe. And so it's like, well, hey, hold on a second. If I want an exhaust gas temperature probe and I want tuning and I want monitoring, isn't this the best option? I'm going to go with no. The reason why, because the LiveWire is a better product than this, than the X4 for monitoring, but it's another half again the money, right? And so it's like, man, you are getting eerily close to another solution. So let's talk about that. So Edge Products makes this little dude here. This is a reason to know that God loves you and wants you to be happy. Okay, so this is an Edge Insight, because it gives you insight into what's going on under the hood of your truck. CTS Color Touch Screen 3. So this is awesome sauce. Okay, this thing comes pre-set up, and it'll monitor all the other things, right? Oil temp, coolant temp, trans temp, IPR duty cycle. By the way, they call it IPR duty cycle. SCT calls it ICP duty cycle. No, it's IPR duty cycle. Pay attention. But same thing. Well, SCT mislabels it, but the reading is the same as what I mean to say. At any rate, what's nice about this gauge is that, so it supports all these fun screens. This is just one of them. But it supports the monitoring of up to 12 things concurrently, so more than the SCT X4. It beeps at you when bad things are happening. You don't have to just freaking notice, because you're supposed to be eyes on the road, right? I mean, not on your gauges, right? Hello. But it'll actually interrupt its monitoring screen to tell you a bad thing that's going on something that's not even one of the things that you're monitoring right now. I mean, yes, please. Right? This is awesome, and it's essentially the same cache as the SCT X4. Now, there's a caveat. This is just a monitor. You're like, well, hold on a second. Edge makes a program. It's called an Evolution. Yeah, not for a Powerstroke 6.0. I can't recommend for a Powerstroke 6.0 for all kinds of reasons. But for tuning and stuff, no. For monitoring, yes, please. For tuning, you want the SCT X4. But really what you want is, for tuning, you want the SCT X4 if you want to be able to switch between tunes, or you can go ahead and you can just ship us your ECM like we talked about, you know, for on the order of a couple $100. But really what you want is, you want to get the CTS 3 and you want to get the SCT X4 both. I know it sounds like I'm trying to sell something. Really, it's not about that for us. It never has been. I'm just telling you it's the best. I like my crap to work, and I like to know what's going on under the hood of my truck. This does that for me. Now, what about that extra stuff I've been alluding to? Well, so you can buy add-ons. So Edge has this thing called an EAS, an Edge Accessory System, don't you know? This is the beginning of it. This particular one is their expansion pack for an exhaust gas temperature probe. Very, very, very slick. We'll probably shoot a separate video on edge actually, just because it deserves it. But the Cliff Notes version is that this edge device supports exhaust gas temperature monitoring. Of course it does. It also supports, if you buy their competition kit, it also supports, so the competition kit, save you a couple of nickels. This comes with an exhaust gas temperature probe. Yes, please, thank you, Jesus, you do love me. It also comes with a digital to the analog adapter that supports 2 analog inputs, because the Edge accessory system works on daisy chaining. So you just daisy chain these various things, these various sensors as you buy them. So this comes with exhaust gas temperature, sure. Comes with a digital to analog adapter, perfect. And then, for purposes of my Powerstroke viewers, it comes with a 0 to 100 psi pressure sensor. So that's used for fuel pressure, and that's pre-done 1/8 inch national pipe thread. And then it comes with a separate temperature sensor. Now, the problem with the separate temperature sensor is in a Powerstroke 6.0, there really isn't a lot of benefit for it. But I'm here to tell you that by the time that you buy the exhaust gas temperature probe, by the time that you buy the digital to analog adapter that you need, by the time that you buy the 0 to 100 psi gauge that you're going to use for fuel pressure, that stuff together is more expensive than this kit. And so with this kit, what you're also getting is you're getting this A, you're saving money, yay, but B, you're also going ahead and you're making it so that you can get a temperature sensor as well. You're probably just going to throw it in a drawer for, like, your Duramax or something for later, or some other vehicle, and that's fine. Or I suppose, a fella could, we have seen people, go ahead and they really wanted to know what the temperature of their rear end was or whatever. I mean, okay. So, but that's the story, okay? The other thing you can do with this, though, is you can say, okay, fine, we had 2 digital to analog adapter. We had the digital analog adapter that allowed us to have 2 inputs, and it just happens to come, right, with 2 0 to 100 psi pressure gauges. So what else could you do with this? You could actually buy a second 0 to 100 psi pressure gauge and use this to monitor your coolant pressure so that you can know what your story is with your head gaskets at any point in time and be like, oh, very slick. So you have that option. But recognize with this, it's threaded what? What's it threaded? Come on, do you remember? 1/8 inch NPT, 1/8 inch national pipe thread. What's the problem? The problem is trucks are metric, right? So on the outside of your secondary fuel filter housing, what you have is you have a little test port right there, and you can unscrew that, and you can go ahead and you can screw in an adapter. So Glow Shift makes it, this little dude right here. And this allows you to thread in your 1/8 inch NPT into this. A tremendous number of people have reported this is leaking, though, because it's just secured by a little O-ring, and that's really it. So the better answer is actually not this. And I'm going to reach over here. It's totally horrible, I know. Just forgive me. And I'm going to tell you that what you really want to do is you want this instead. So what you're used to, of course, is you've got your plastic fuel cap, which is stuck in our box in our little package here. But the plastic fuel cap, they like to break anyway. So if you migrate to a billet aluminum version, then life gets pretty good. Somewhere over here. Yeah, there it is. Somewhere over here. What we have is this little swivel adapter, right? And so it allows you to thread this puppy in. Yay! It's a nice little 90 1/8 inch NPT. This is threaded 1/8 inch NPT. Put your line in there. You're fat, dumb, and happy. Life is good, and you end up with a nice little bling upgrade for your truck. So this is fanciness on steroids. So if you want this, yeah. Now the other thing that you can do with this, there's lots of things you can do, but the other thing you can do with the edge setup is you can go ahead and you can actually get a turbo timer as well, which is pretty fun. But recognize, not free, not free, not free, not free. You know what's gonna trend? But at least it's an option. I'm all about the option. So if you can't swing everything, or if you're watching this video for your special someone, you're like, man, what should I get them for the next holiday or their birthday or something? Man, pick them up this. They can always get the add-ons, or you can always buy the add-ons from us separately, whatever. But this provides you with all of the options to know what's going on. I mean, we have so many trucks in our bays that come in and they're blown up, all because no one knew that they were running pressures that were too high or temperatures that were too high, and now we're selling them a long block, and I'm like, oh my gosh, or or whatever. So it's mostly avoidable. And so that's what these gauges allow you to do. They allow you to see what's actually going on. And if you want Edge, great. If you want SCT, great. If you want the Scangauge, great. If you want the Bluetooth thing for 30, 40 bucks, whatever it is, great. The goal is not to sell you anything. The goal is to bring awareness to the fact that you want gauges, because the factory stuff is absolutely pathetic. And here's the deal with fuel pressure, by the way, as I clean up my desk here a little bit to show you stuff. I mean, you can get, a little something like this, I guess, right? And certainly we sell this, and this is just a one-time test on your fuel pressure. Why? Just why? Or you can actually rent it from your local auto parts store if you're not working on these things all the time. But again, why? The fuel pressure, a lack of fuel pressure kills injectors. I sell those too. It's so much money. Don't you want to know when it's time for a fuel filter? Don't you want to know when your fuel pump's getting weak? Don't you want to know when it's time for a blue spring kit, or it's time for just a whole different fuel pump? Think about how many miles are on your truck. If you got like 160,000 or more, I'm here to tell you your HFCM, horizontal fuel conditioning module, don't you know? Your HFCM owes you nothing. So do you want to spend $533 current market pricing at the time of this video and buy a fuel pump from me? Or do you just want to buy monitoring? We got guys with 500,000 miles on their original fuel pump. We also got guys with 110,000 miles with a failed fuel pump. So, you kind of don't know. And so it's like, what do? Just throw money away on fuel pumps left and right? Or do you watch them? Because the vast majority of them, they start to lose pressure. They don't just fail. And so instead of putting your money towards a replacement fuel pump, think about putting it towards a monitoring solution. Now, if you do need a fuel pump, hey, fine, we can have a fast and all these other options, right, for aftermarket fuel pumps, which are ridiculously superior. But again, only if you need to. So the purpose of this video was to talk about the difference in gauges, monitoring gauges, tuners, all that kind of stuff. There are more options, but these are by far the most common ones, right? And at least now you have a little bit of a sense of where it is that you want to devote your hard-earned cash. So I hope this helps somebody. If you have specific questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, or give us a jingle. We'll hook you up and go from there. All right? So FICMRepair.com, we're all in this together. I hope this was a benefit to you. Truly, I do. If you have other ideas for what other videos you'd like to see, holler at us, let us know that too. All right? Thanks very much. Take care. See ya.